Hello, Year 9. This is our last lesson on Act 3, Scene 4 on the Banquo's ghost scene. A quick reminder, Macbeth has invited all the thanes, all the court round, and in the middle of all of this, the ghost of Banquo with 20 gashes on his head appears in Macbeth's seat. This is a hallucination. Only Macbeth can see it, and it is there to symbolise Macbeth's guilt. However, Macbeth thinks the other people can't see it. The ghost comes and goes in this scene, as if to taunt Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth is very keen that Macbeth gets his act together, because he's making a really bad impression with all the other guests and being a bad host, and they all think he's going mad. So that's her role, and she tells them not to go, and she explains his odd behaviour through the fact that he's had a kind of illness a mental illness since he was a child. So we start with Macbeth at the top here. Come on, Mr. Cursor, where are you? There you go. Macbeth here is talking to the ghost again. So the ghost is back on stage at this point, and Macbeth says, "What man dare I dare?" So this is after kind of Lady Macbeth is challenging his masculinity again. So remember, throughout this scene, Lady Macbeth says, "Come on, man up. Your behaviour is not masculine at all." And obviously that's because at this particular time, masculinity was associated with strength, physical and mental strength, and to show any weakness, especially in front of other men, was seen as not masculine at all. So he's speaking to Banquo's ghost. He says, "What man dare I dare? Approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, or the Hyrcan tiger." He's saying to Banquo, please don't appear in the form of Banquo. You could appear like a Russian bear. You could appear like an armour-plated rhinoceros. You could appear like Hyrcan means Iranian, for a tiger from Iran. Anything, be anything but the shape of Banquo. It is the fact that you appear as Banquo that taunts me the most. So those things, the Russian bear, the armour-plated rhinoceros, and the tiger from Iran, are all symbols of strength, which we would associate with masculinity. So Macbeth, Shakespeare deliberately uses the bear, the rhinoceros, and tiger to say, to show that Macbeth is saying, look, I can face anything. I can face the most powerful beasts on earth, but I just can't face Banquo's ghost. So he's going back to this idea of masculinity. He's saying, I can face anything with physical strength, but the ghost of Banquo is attacking me and making me mentally weak, and it's that I can't cope with, the mental weakness. So here, yes, as I've said, he says, "Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble." So he's basically saying that. Cursor! He's basically saying, please take any shape other than Banquo. I can deal with anything but that. And here he says, you'll see this cursor's doing my head in. You will see the cursor going about all over the place, but I swear I can't see it. Or be alive again and dare me to the desert with thy sword. So he's saying, come back to life to Banquo's ghost. So he realises it's a ghost. He knows that Banquo's dead. He thinks it's a ghost. Really, it's a hallucination. So he's saying, please come back to life. Be alive again. Come back to life and dare me to the desert with thy sword. He's saying, challenge me to a duel in the desert. So again, this is another, Macbeth wants a physical confrontation with Banquo. He wants something he can fight. He just can't do with the uncertainty of this mental torture. If trembling I inhabit, then protest me the baby of a girl. So he's saying, come back to life, challenge me to a duel. If you see me trembling there, you can call me a baby girl. So it's again this idea of femininity. To be physically weak is like a female, and to be physically strong is like a male. Hence horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence. So hence just means go away. Horrible shadow is a metaphor for the ghost. And then the ghost exits. Remember, the ghost of Banquo comes and goes throughout this scene, almost as if to taunt Macbeth and to show Macbeth that he's unable to control the hallucination. Why so? Being gone, I am a man again. Pray you sit still. So he's saying he's kind of reassuring himself here. The ghost has gone. I feel like I'm a man again. And again, the repetition of this idea: to be a man equals to be strong, and mentally strong. Now the ghost has gone. He's mentally strong. He is reassured. Lady Macbeth, same thing throughout this scene. You have displaced the mirth. You have spoilt mirth means enjoyment, fun. So you have displaced means take away. So you have taken away the fun, taken away the enjoyment. Remember, although Macbeth thinks he's speaking to Banquo, everybody else is just seeing Macbeth ramble on at an empty chair, which would be weird, wouldn't it? You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorders. So you have broken you've broken the feast. You've destroyed the feast. You have spoilt all the fun that everybody's having. Macbeth here is speaking to all of the guests. So Lady Macbeth and all the thanes. Can such things be and overcome us like a summer's cloud? So he is using the simile here. He's saying, can such things be? Can it be real? Can this hallucination be real? Or is it hallucination? Is it real? Is it a ghost? What is it? And overcome us like a summer's cloud. So can this be? Can this spoil my mood? You see the simile there, overcome us like a summer's cloud. So everything's fine, beautiful summer's day, and then the cloud comes over and everything's ruined, which is how he's feeling. The feast was there to celebrate him being king, and now it's been ruined by Banquo's ghost. So overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder. Can this actually be happening? And why is everybody else not wondering what's going on? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, when now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks when mine is blanched with fear. So it's almost accusing the Lady Macbeth and the rest of the lords and ladies at the feast here. He's saying, you make me doubt what I am seeing. You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe. You make me doubt what I am seeing by saying that you can't see it. There's nothing there. When now I think you can behold such sights. So he actually thinks, he's managed to convince himself that they can see the ghost of Banquo too. And then he says, and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks. So this is a metaphor. What he means is here, how can you see what I am seeing and not be affected by it? And he uses the metaphor of the colour red in his cheeks. I was going to do a bit of acting then, that would be weird. Which is contrasted with his own cheeks, which he is saying are blanched with fear. So what he's saying here is, my face has gone pale. You know the old saying that when you see a ghost or something, your face just goes really, all the blood goes from your cheeks and your face has gone pale. So he's saying, my face has gone pale with fear because of what I am seeing, because of Banquo's ghost that I am seeing. And he says, where's that cursor gone? And he's saying, you can behold such sights, so you can see what I am seeing, but your face is still the same colour. You don't seem to be affected at all. So he's managed to convince himself here that everybody is seeing what he's seeing, when clearly they can't, and they've told him, what are you looking at? And then Ross, as if to confirm the madness of Macbeth, says, what sights, my lord? What are you talking about? We can't see anything. And Lady Macbeth, as always the sensible one, can see this is only going one way, and that's downhill. she says, I could do with Lady Macbeth to sort this cursor out. She says, I pray you speak not, so please don't speak to him. She's trying to minimise any communication between Macbeth and the Lords, because she knows he'll just make it worse. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. So please don't ask him questions. That'll just make him worse. At once, good night. So at this stage, she's given up. She's realised that she's not going to convince Macbeth that it's a hallucination, and she's not going to have any effect on getting him just to be a good host and forget about the ghost of Banquo. So she's given up. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once. So she is speaking here to all the thanes, and she is saying, it's time to go, please, good night. When she says, stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once, she's saying, please go immediately. There's no need to go out in any particular order. And remember, this was a highly structured society, so they would have come in the order of their status or importance, and they would have left in the order of their status or importance. She's saying there's no need for that, please go. So she just wants them out in a rush to save any further embarrassment. And Lennox says, good night and better health attend his majesty. So good night, and I hope Macbeth's feeling better soon. Which is pretty good, really. That's nice and polite, isn't it? Bearing the madness that they've just witnessed. Okay, 2 questions on this scene, please. Right at the start, Macbeth says he can't bear to be taunted by the sight of Macbeth. He describes 3 animals that he would rather be confronted by rather than being confronted by the sight of Banquo. I think I just said Macbeth before. What are the 3 animals he would rather face than face the ghost of Banquo? Number 1. If you want to pause and write down the answer. Number 2. Macbeth says, how can you not be affected by what you are seeing when I am in fear of what I am seeing? And he uses the contrast. How can you keep the colour in your cheeks when my face has gone white with fear because of what I am seeing? So he thinks that everybody can see what he is seeing. Who is he speaking to when he says, how come you are not afraid when I am? Who's he speaking to? Okay, do you want to pause and write down the answer? And then we shall carry on with the next page. Okay, here we go. The last page on Act 3, Scene 4. Lady Macbeth says, let's get that cursor fired up. Lady Macbeth says a good night to all. I'm sure you know what that means. She's just saying goodbye. And then Macbeth says a famous line, actually used in a great film about oil. That doesn't help you though. Macbeth says, it will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood. What he means here is the dead will have revenge. If you spill blood, your blood must be spilled. So he's suggesting there is a certain inevitability. He has killed Banquo, and there must be some form of punishment for that. And this could link to the theme of fate, couldn't it? It's impossible for Macbeth to escape the consequences of what he has done. It is his fate that he must pay for his treachery. These few lines are a bit complicated, especially when you've got a cursor going about all over the place. Stones have been known to move and trees to speak. Augurs and understood relations have by magpies and choughs and rooks brought forth the secrets of man's blood. These images are about the reversal of nature. So stones are gravestones. So gravestones have been known to move. Trees have been known to speak. Choughs are, I think we'd call those magpies. So magpies and crows. Rooks are crows. have brought forward mystical signs. So nature, basically, this is about nature. Nature has been disturbed in order to reveal man's guilt, man's secret. So if you look at those things, they're all the reversal, the reversal of nature. And Macbeth is saying this is all done. These reversals of nature can be done in order to show a man's guilt. And then he says, "What is the night?" Which basically means, is the night over and done with? Is it finished yet? What's the time? Lady Macbeth replies, "It's Shakespeare, so as always the language is metaphorical." So Macbeth says here, "What is the night? What is the time?" Me or you would say, "Oh, it's 12 o'clock, me duck." But Lady Macbeth comes up with this metaphor, almost at odds with the morning. So the night is at odds with the morning, so it's almost morning. Macbeth now moves on to a different topic. "How sayest thou that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?" What he's saying here, did you know that Macduff is refusing to come and visit me, even though I have invited him? Lady Macbeth said, did you send to him, sir? Did you invite him? Did you invite him? Do you know that he's refusing to come and see you? And Macbeth says, "I hear it by the way. I have heard rumours, but I will actually send an invite to Macduff to come and visit me at the castle." And then he says, "There's not a one of them, but in his house I keep a servant feed." So in every Thane's house in Scotland, he has a spy who he pays. That's what he means. When he says, "I keep a servant feed," he means I've got a spy. I'm paying one of his servants. Each of the Thanes, I'm paying one of his servants to spy for me. So this kind of tells us how suspicious and mistrusting he has become, and what a kind of controlling tyrant he has become. "I will tomorrow, and betimes I will, to the Weird Sisters." Hopefully you remember the Weird Sisters are the witches. So I'm going to go to the Weird Sisters tomorrow. Now this links to the theme of fate. He is now, ever since the failure to kill Fleance, and ever since the ghost of Banquo has come back, or the hallucinations of the ghost have come back to haunt him, he is now feeling that he is not in control of his own fate and his own destiny. And when he feels like that, he always goes back to the people that started his belief in destiny, the witches. So he is now going to go back to the witches to seek reassurance. And he says, by the worst means the worst. So I want them to tell me the worst that could happen. And then he comes up with this extraordinary selfish line. What he wants to know is, "For mine own good, all causes shall give way." So for me, everything else is irrelevant. So he's basically saying, all I want to know is about myself. All I want to know is that from the witches is that I'm going to be safe. Everything else is unimportant. And he says that to his wife. And then this metaphor, I think the best metaphor in the whole play, this along with "Will all Neptune's oceans wash this blood from my hand?" So the symbol of blood is repeated here. I am in blood, stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as to go over. So we know that blood is a symbol of his guilt. It has been after the murder of Duncan, and Banquo's face is smeared with blood as a symbol of Macbeth's guilt for having his best friend killed. So what he's saying here is, I am in blood, so I have committed so many murders. Blood represents killing as well. I'm going to murder this cursor in a minute. I am in blood, stepped in, so I am so deep in blood. I have done so many murders. I have done so many bad things now, that should I wade no more, which means should I continue, returning were as tedious as to go over. So what he's saying here is that I have committed so many murders. I am so deeply involved in this plot and the secrecy, that it would be almost impossible to go back to what I was to go back to just being a Thane, to go back to before the murders. So, to summarise, I am so far involved in murder, it would be impossible to go back to what I was before the murders. So I must carry on. And what he's describing is a cycle of violence. It's something the old American Western films used to cover a lot. So what he's saying is that once you have started going down a certain path, in his case murder, then it is almost impossible to stop. So it's fate again. So Macbeth has started something he is now no longer in control of. He can't stop. He is so deeply involved in it. Lady Macbeth says, oh sorry, right at the bottom there, he says, strange things that I have in head that will to hand, which must be acted ere, may they be scanned. So I've got some strange plans in my head that will to hand. I must get on with them before, and must get on with my plans before, he says, before they are scanned. What he means is before they are discovered. Lady Macbeth says, you lack the season of all natures, sleep. So she's trying to say, look, all of this worrying is down to lack of sleep. Macbeth says, come, we'll to sleep, so we will go to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are but yet young indeed. A bit complicated line here, but basically what he's saying is, my strange visions, my strange doubt, they are happening because we are unused to this type of thing. This is our first time murdering. This is our first time plotting. This is our first time we've been involved in criminal behaviour. So he's saying, I'm not used to this killing, and that might be why it is having such a powerful effect on my mental health. Okay, that's the end of Act 3, Scene 4. Can you please have a go at answering these 3 questions? Number 1. What is the metaphor that shows Macbeth believes the dead will have revenge? Banquo will have revenge. Duncan will have revenge. What's the metaphor? Number 2. I said that Macbeth realises he's in a cycle of violence, that he is trapped. He has killed 2 people, and it's impossible to go back to what he was before. He must continue. He feels trapped by that. What is the metaphor that he uses, or Shakespeare uses, to describe this cycle of violence that Macbeth is trapped in? And number 3, sorry, there's 4 questions I've realised. I'm sneaking an extra one in. Number 3, how does Macbeth know what's going on in each Thane's castle? He knows that Macduff is refusing to come to Macbeth's castle. How does he know that, and how does he know what's going on in every Thane's castle? And finally for this week, number 4. Which living character does Macbeth now trust the least? Which character is he most suspicious of? Okay, email me the questions or take a picture and send them to me. Have a super week. Goodbye.